Our presentation is on racial and gender bias, but specifically looking at racial bias. The overarching question we chose to address is, how does race impact different aspects of American society? And specifically, we'll be exploring income level, unemployment rates, hate crimes, sentencing lengths, and COVID-19 effects with their corresponding questions shown here. I explored racial bias in regard to income level inequality with the question, how does the average income level of households in the US vary by race from 2002 to 2019? As seen in the scatter plot, I took the mean income level of households and compared it by race across the years. We could see that the mean income level for each race followed its own type of trend. And you can see that Asians had the highest mean income, followed by whites, and then Hispanics and blacks leading behind. This can be explained by racial bias in society against certain races that are not given the same privileges and opportunities as others. In the stacked bar chart, the distribution looks evenly distributed among the income levels. However, specifically looking at the Asian race, you can see that their above 200K income level range is the biggest compared to the rest, and the same goes for Black and Hispanic with their under 15K income level range, which matches up with the related work.
The question I addressed was, how do unemployment rates vary and compare among different racial groups, and if African Americans have the highest rates of unemployment? For the analysis, I used data which had unemployment rates of 4 racial groups from March 2001 to March 2021. Because there was a large volume of values from the data set, using every value did not give a clear picture, so instead I used the averages for each year for each race seen in the line plot to the right. I found that African Americans consistently had the highest level of unemployment in the past 20 years, closely followed by the Hispanic or Latino, and then the Asian and white population remained steadily low. Looking specifically at the Black and white unemployment gap, it has been found already that there exists a 2-to-1 ratio between the two racial groups, where African Americans have consistently shown double the unemployment percentages than the white population. This, along with my analysis, can be explained by the bias that exists in society and has given African Americans disadvantage in gaining certain opportunities, resulting in their high unemployment rate.
I looked at racially motivated hate crimes to answer the question, how does the severity of racially motivated hate crimes compare to hate crimes against other groups of people in New York City? The data set I worked with is from the New York Police Department, focusing on New York City hate crimes exclusively from 2019 to 2020. The most common motivation, according to my analysis, is religious practice. However, this contradicts all related work I found in which race is consistently the leading motivation for hate crimes. This could indicate that these 2 specific years in New York had a different distribution than the rest of the United States across a larger time range. Within felonies, more severe crimes, there is a relatively even distribution of the different types of motivations between race, religion, and sexuality. Hate crimes motivated by race are roughly equally likely to be misdemeanors and felonies, which is pretty different from the distributions of severity across the other groups, which are more skewed towards being a felony or misdemeanor.
In order to help answer our overarching question, I sought to identify bias in the criminal justice system. I questioned whether or not certain races tend to receive larger sentences for the same crimes, and within each crime type, how much of the total sentence is actually served. I analyzed a data set compiled by the Bureau of Justice Statistics, which compared the average length of sentence for white and Black Americans in 31 different crime categories. As demonstrated by the plot in the upper right-hand corner, African Americans receive longer sentences in 21 of those categories, serving an average of 8 years longer. Furthermore, African Americans also tend to serve a larger portion of their total sentence, which may be attributed to unequal opportunities for sentence reduction. These results support related work regarding AI risk analysis and further demonstrate implicit biases that exist in our judicial system.
Different races have also been affected disproportionately by the pandemic. So my question is, does COVID-19 affect some races more than others? And how does this relate to healthcare access? As seen in the top right plot, Black and Hispanic communities make up a larger percentage of cases than they do the overall US population, while the case numbers of other races are more proportionate to their populations. The bottom right plot illustrates how Asian, Black, and Hispanic communities make up less of the fully vaccinated population than they do the country's general population. Similarly to data analysis from related work online, we can see that historically marginalized groups have higher risk of infection and less access to healthcare compared to their white counterparts. This may be due to the relationship between racial minority and socioeconomic status, as some groups are more likely to have jobs that cannot be done remotely and use public transportation. So in conclusion, racial bias is clearly embedded in different aspects of our society.